faithful and lifts me time and time again. Oh my God, so good, you never give up, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good, you never give up, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Yeah. This freedom purchased by the highest price. This grace outweighing all my shame. 'Cause I'm made new through the power of sacrifice. From death now raised to life again. Oh my God, so good, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. You set this joy in my heart. I'm not a slave to sin, so I'm singing. You are good. Buried with Christ to rise in your freedom. You are good. When you make a promise, Jesus, you keep it. You are good. So I praise your name as long as I'm breathing. 'Cause you are good. Come on. I'm not a slave to sin, so I'm singing. You are good. Buried with Christ to rise in your freedom. You are good. When you make a promise, Jesus, you keep it. You are good. So I praise your name as long as I'm breathing. 'Cause you are good, yeah. Oh my God, so good, you never give up. Because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. I'm singing, I'm not a slave to sin, so I'm singing. 'Cause you are good. Buried with Christ to rise in your freedom. 'Cause you are good. When you make a promise, Jesus, you keep it. 'Cause you are good. So I praise your name as long as I'm breathing. 'Cause you are good, yeah. You are good to us, God. Oh, you never give up.
Good morning now, church. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Hopefully it's sunny, it's pre-recorded video. If it's not, I'm sorry, bad Sunday. But I'm so glad that you've decided to join us this week. It's going to be an amazing service. We've got lots planned, even though we are online, and you're going to love it. So, before I continue, I want you guys to share. I want you guys to share it on the Facebook page or share the link with someone, your friends, your family. Let them know that we are still happening, it's still going on, and that they can watch it with us. So this week I was listening to a song that's called Still in Control by Jesus Culture. It's an amazing song. I love it so much. And it just talks about how God is still in control. Even when everything is falling down around us, we can still trust in Him. The words say, my God is still in control, and still He reigns on His throne. Though mountains may tremble and sea billows roll, I'll sing it as well with my soul. My God is still in control. God knows what's going on. He can hear our prayers this morning. He can hear our prayers every single day. We just need to trust in Him. We need to remind ourselves that He is in control. He reigns over everything. And I think that's so encouraging for us to hear this morning, that it's not up to us and it's not in our hands, but it is with God. So this past Monday we've had our Easter special of our Challenge Mondays for our kids and youth, and this week they had to take pictures with them and their Easter eggs in some really weird places. Hopefully, I've not seen the photos yet, so hopefully we've not got any in the toilet. I warned them about that last week, but why don't you take a look at the photos. Photos, guys, well done, you've done such an amazing job. So we're going to be posting our next Challenge Mondays tomorrow, and it is going to be absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to pray now, and I encourage you all who are watching and who are going to be watching to just pray with me with this prayer. Lord, I just thank you that we are in this place and that we can worship you. We can worship you in our homes, and that church isn't cancelled. I'm so thankful that we get to have this community and we can have these friendships and this other family who can support us and love us and go through this time with us. Lord, I just pray for peace over everyone. I pray that they are just safe and that they can be just protected in their own homes, and that they don't have to worry, and that they can trust in you. You are still in control, God. And I just pray that this morning, whatever word that you have for them, whatever you want to say to them will be said, and that they will hear it this morning, Lord. Amen.
Hey, well, thank you, and thank you for being with us this morning and for watching online. If you're just getting engaged in church, I think it'd be easy to kind of, have a lie-in or to switch off or to have a break. And I don't know about you, but some people will find, this season of lockdown, they find it hard to get motivated and to do stuff. But staying engaged in church, staying connected to church is really important. And maybe you've joined us during this season, and you are so welcome to join us online each Sunday. Whether you're part of another church and they can't facilitate this kind of thing at the moment, it is great that you are here and you are really welcome. Maybe a friend has said, hey, why don't you join me at church online during this season, and you are really welcome here. And if you are new, we would love to send you just a little gift, a little welcome pack, something that we'd normally put in your hand if you came to church for the first time at our building. But if you are new, why don't you let us know? You can message us on Facebook, drop us an email, and we'd love to just post something out to you, because we want to get to know you, and we're here for you. If you need anything, just let us know, and that would be amazing. So this morning I want to talk a little bit about the season that we're in. Coronavirus is affecting every area of our lives. It's affecting work, it's affecting households, it's affecting our thoughts as well. You can't really not think about it, because it's affecting everything that we do. Those kind of normal things that we do are affected by this. But our thoughts, there's a lot of questions I think around at the moment. And so today I want to kind of talk really openly and honestly about, where is God in COVID-19? Where is God in this whole coronavirus? There's lots of questions floating around, and you might be asking some of those questions. You might have been coming to church for a short time or a long time, and it's like, well, God, where are you in this? How is all of this come to be? And maybe coronavirus is questioning or making you question your belief in God, or it's making you kind of look at some of those assumptions that you've always had of God. We're taught that God is a God of love, and he is a God of love, don't get me wrong, and we'll look at that. But then how does that all match up when we see thousands of people dying, when we see the economy going to ruin, where we see a high rise in domestic violence because people are on lockdown? Where is God in that? And I just want to talk openly and honestly about that, and maybe answer a few questions that you're asking, or maybe friends are asking, your neighbors are asking these questions, or maybe they're thinking these questions. So I think one of the questions is why did God send this? Or is this karma? If you've been on the news, or if you've seen different reports, there's different people that are saying this is God's judgment on earth. Even Hulk Hogan, the famous wrestler, has come out and he said this is God's judgment on earth, and if everyone just turned from their sinful ways, their wicked ways, we wouldn't need an antibody, we wouldn't need a cure, because God would remove this. And some people are saying, well, this is a result of our sin. If we had stayed close to God, if we had been near to God, then this wouldn't be here. And I want to say, not all suffering is a result of sin. I think the Bible makes that quite clear. When Jesus is on earth and he's going around and he's healing people, he comes across a blind man, and the people around him, they say, Jesus, is this sin? Is he blind? Is it as a result of his sin or his parents' sin? And Jesus says it's a result of neither. And sometimes we think, sin, it results in a suffering, and that's not necessarily true. Not all suffering is a result of sin. And we don't have God's specific word on coronavirus. I've done a search, I went on Google, and it's not in the Bible. Is coronavirus in the Bible? No, it's not. And so we don't know where this has come from. There isn't a word on this. The Bible doesn't say, this is God's judgment. And so when people say this is God's judgment, or God has caused this to come, that simply isn't true. There's no evidence for that. There's no biblical basis for that. And we believe that God speaks to us individually, and I love that he cares about us enough to speak to you, to speak to me personally. But that's always backed up by his word. He doesn't say something that isn't kind of in the Bible. He doesn't say something that he can't back up. And so right now, we can't say that God has sent this, but maybe one of the things is, well, God, if you didn't send this, how can you allow this? Because it's still here, and if you're still God, how is this on earth? And that's a really good question. God, why are you allowing this to happen? Because I believe that God could, click his fingers and it'd be gone. Or I believe that, God could just take it all away, but he isn't. And so we have to answer this question. Well, God, why are you allowing this to happen? And maybe we have to make this question a lot bigger. God, why do you allow suffering on earth? And the fact is, there isn't an easy answer to that question. We have to put our trust in God. Now, I think sometimes we don't always respond so well to when things are going well. In that there is no response. We don't recognise when things are good, and we don't turn to God when things are good. We just kind of carry on as normal. But when there's pain, we have to respond to pain. We can't ignore pain. We have to do something. And I think this season of life, it reminds us of our vulnerability. That the fact we are human, that life is unstable, that actually, we so often want to be in control of everything. We think we are in control, but this reminds us actually we're not really in control. And if you're a control freak, maybe this season's freaking you out more than any other season, because you've noticed that the things you thought you controlled, you don't control anymore. Life is being dictated to you. There's rules being put in place, and It's hard, but it reminds us that we are just human, that we are just people, and that life is vulnerable. And maybe in this season we have to ask ourselves, well, actually, God, what are you saying through this? God, you're allowing this to happen. It is happening, and I know you've given us free will, and but what are you saying in this? And are we listening to what God is saying during this season? I find it easy to kind of pretend to listen to God, or to say, ask God questions, but then not really give the response. And maybe God wants to speak to you during this season. Me and Sean the other night, we were up in bed, and I said, "Oh, Sean, what do you want to do? Are you reading? Do you want to watch TV?" She didn't respond, so I waited like 30 seconds, and I said, "What do you want to do? Are you reading? Do you want to watch TV?" And she was just on her phone, and I said, "Are you going to sleep?" No response. So then I thought, oh, she's not responding to me. I'm just going to get on and do something else. So I got on my computer and I thought, well, I'm not tired. And I went to put on a film. And she goes, "What are you doing? You're just going to watch something without me?" I said, "Well, I asked you twice what you wanted to do, and you didn't respond." And it was only when I started to do something else that she kind of picked up and she interjected what she wanted. And maybe we're in a season like that right now, where God's saying, "You know what? I'm speaking. Are you listening? Or is it only when things don't go so well, when it's only when something happens that you wouldn't have planned, or that you didn't want, that you start to speak to me?" And the sad fact is, too often we treat God like that. We only cry out to him when things are going wrong, when things are bad, when things are hard, when life isn't what we expected it to be, when life isn't going according to our plans. But God wants to be involved in every area of our life, in the good and the bad, in all seasons and at all times. And so maybe we can ask ourselves, well, actually, God, what are you saying in this season? But then the question is there, God, if you are all powerful, then why aren't you doing something? We have cried out to you, and again, maybe we need to ask, well, God, what are you already doing in this season? Because I look around and I see some amazing response from the church, the global church, capital C, how it's stepped up, how it's adapted, how it's changed, how Christians, how people are feeding others, are looking out for others, how in a world where it seems like society's been torn apart, people are actually coming closer together. And maybe God's actually already doing something in this season. He's already here, and he's already given us all that we need. If we ever wanted to take our services online in a season out of COVID-19, I'd imagine it would have kind of started with a few meetings, looking at different options, saying, well, is this the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? Should we not do something online because people might not come to church? Or what are the logistics? Is this a priority right now? Will it take time away from what we should be doing? It's an expense? We have to buy equipment. Is this the right thing to do things online? And I think the whole process probably would have taken us about 6 months to get going. From the time of asking that question, should we take our services online? But in this season, when we were forced to take our services online, you know what? We got it done in a few days. And I love what God is doing in this season, how he's changing the church, how we're adapting, and how I think the church globally is adapting well. And I think God is doing something already in this season. And then there's miracles happening as well. People are being healed. There's stories of prayers going out and people getting better, and I love that. And that's gonna invoke more questions in us. Well, God, how come some people get better and some people don't get better? And that's a question I think we ask permanently in life, not just in this coronavirus season, but actually, God, what's going on here? And sometimes we don't know, but we have to trust. We have to trust God and say, God, well, actually, you know what? I will trust you even when it doesn't make complete sense. Even when you do things differently to me, still I'm gonna trust you. So where is God in this coronavirus season? The fact is, he's in us. He's He's in us. He's in our response. When I see Christians reach out to others, when I see neighbours knocking on each other's doors to check on them, that they're okay, when I see people answering cries for help, well, there's God. God's in this, and He's in us in this season. And maybe God's asking, well, where are you in this season? Are you helping your neighbour? Are you reaching out to your neighbour? Are you doing all that you can in this season? Are you even obeying the guidelines? Sometimes we just say, God, well, where are you? And God's saying, well, where are you? Where are you? He's in our attitude. He's in our response. He's in our thoughts. He's in our feelings. He's saying, well, actually, where are you? And sometimes I think we ask these questions. We're asking God, why aren't you doing good for us? Why aren't you serving me here? And I think so often we notice the absence of God very easily. We notice when things aren't good, and it's easier to be negative than it is to be positive. I've been going out running because I can have my daily dose of exercise, and it is beautiful where I live, like just on the doorsteps of Clumber Park. So go out running through the woods there, and I love it, and seeing nature, seeing beauty. But the paths that I run are quite varied, so a lot of it's kind of track paths, or sometimes running alongside the roads, but sometimes I'm just running through the forest, and it's really uneven ground. And when it's uneven ground, I notice it a lot more than I do when it's even ground, because I have to concentrate more. I have to think about where I'm putting my feet. I have to look down. I have to say, making sure there's not obstacles in my way. And it's kind of when we have that, when things aren't good, when things aren't easy, we have to concentrate more. And maybe we're in that season of life right now where actually, God, it isn't easy. And God's saying, well, listen, let's concentrate a little bit more on what's going on right now, and concentrate on God. We've just had Easter, and in just before Jesus goes to die, He's with His disciples, and there's this verse that says in Matthew 26:39, it says, if it is possible, this is Jesus crying out to His Father, saying, if it is possible, let this cup be taken away from me, this cup of death, this cup of crucifixion. Yet not as I will, but as you will. Some research has been done on kind of the default religion for under 30s, for younger people, and kind of their default religion, is what we call moralistic therapeutic deism, which basically means kind of this kind of equating religion with being good, with being moral, with being nice, this having a faith which is kind of a means to improve your life, and this kind of belief in God that He's real, but He's not really involved. He's quite distant unless we really need Him, in this kind of belief that there is a mostly uninvolved God who exists to make our lives better. And I think when we have this idea of religion, of what faith is, that God is someone to make our lives better, and when we view God as that one, we're always going to struggle when things go wrong. Not just when coronavirus hits, but when we hit hard times in relationships, when the people that we love get sick, or when they die, or when the person we love doesn't love us back, because we have a disturbed and a distorted view of who God is. Jesus, He faced some pretty tough times. He came from heaven to a world that rejected Him. I love the story that Jesus tells of a vineyard owner. And this vineyard owner, he set some workers in the vineyard, and he went away. And when the time was, had come for him to collect his money from the workers, to kind of collect his percentage, he sent some messengers to go and collect, but they didn't give it to them. In fact, they killed the messengers. And this happened a few times, and then the vineyard owner, who is kind of God in this story, says, well, you know what, I need to send my son. Surely they'll listen to my son. And so he sends his son, but they do exactly the same. They kill him, and they don't give the vineyard owner what he deserves. And that's Jesus. Actually, he came to this earth, kind of losing his heavenly place, knowing that death was going to be the end of it. And life wasn't always easy for him. He lost his earthly father Joseph. He knew what death was. He knew what betrayal was. He knew what it was to be deserted. He knew what it was to have nowhere to go, to nowhere to sleep, to feel lonely. And in his last moments, with this prayer kind of comes out, he's with his disciples. Although they've fallen asleep, the guards come to arrest him, and he's alone because the people that were meant to be closest to him weren't close to him. They had fallen asleep. They didn't care enough to stay awake in his kind of hardest moments. And perhaps you feel like that right now. You're struggling. It's tough. It's hard. And the people that you thought cared for you aren't there. They don't get how hard it is. And I think it's in this agony that Jesus cries out to God, his Father, the person that he knew could stop what he was going through. And maybe you're crying out to God too. You know that he can stop this. You know that he is powerful enough. And you are saying, just like Jesus, if it is possible, let this cup be taken away from me. It might be to do with coronavirus, but it might be another area. Maybe you've been battling something for a while, an addiction, a health issue, a relationship problem, a debt problem. And you say, God, if this is possible, take this away. And these are good prayers to pray. If Jesus prayed it, then I think we're safe in praying this prayer. But that wasn't all of Jesus's prayer. You see, there is an if in all of these questions. And maybe we put these ifs on as well. If you take coronavirus away, I'll worship you forever. If you get me out of debt, then I will start tithing. If you allow that girl or that guy to fall in love with me, then I'll commit everything to you. If you make me better, then I will tell everyone about you. If you remove this addiction, then I will serve you. But Jesus' prayer wasn't just the if part. It had a yet. See, if it is possible, let this cup be taken away from me. Yet, not as I will, but as you will. And maybe our prayers need to be different. If you take this coronavirus away, I will worship you forever. Yet, if you don't, I will worship you forever. If you get me out of debt, then I will start tithing. Yet, if you don't, then I will tithe anyway. If you allow that girl or that guy to fall in love with me, then I'll commit everything to you. But God, yet if you don't, I will commit it all to you anyway. If you make me better, then I'll tell everyone about you. Yet if you don't, I will still tell everyone about you. If you remove this addiction, then I will serve you. Yet if you don't, I will serve you. Ifs and yets. If, God, if, and it's okay to pray those prayers. God, if you can take this away, then please do. If you can make this situation better, then please do. If you can answer all of the questions that I have, then please do. Yet, if you don't, then I'll worship you anyway. I'll put you first in my life anyway. Now is not the time to start bribing God or blackmailing God. In this lockdown season, my youngest daughter, Seven, has started trying to blackmail me. It started off innocently enough. If you give me more chocolate, then I'll give you a daddy hug. But now it's turned nasty. If you don't give me chocolate, then I won't give you a daddy hug. If you don't let me stay up, then I won't tidy up. And it's easy to slip into this with God. See, God wants to be there for you. He wants to be close to you. He wants you to know him as a father. But he is still God. He's still God. And he does know us better even when we can't see it. You might have no idea why you're in the place that you are, or maybe you do know why you're in that place, but you don't know why God isn't getting you out. I want you to know that God sees. He sees it all, and he knows. He knows your thoughts, he knows your feelings, he knows your hurts, he knows your pains, and he sees how this will work for good for you if you trust him. If you say yet, God, even if this doesn't turn out how I want it to turn out, yet I will trust you. I will still love you. Even when I don't feel like the plans you have for me are for good, or to prosper me, or to not let me come to harm, yet I will trust you. I will trust you even when I get worse, even when I lose money, even when it hurts more. Still, I will trust you. Yet I will love you. See, having faith, knowing God, it isn't just about you. That religion is not true religion. And if your faith is only about what God can do for you, then you've got the wrong idea of what faith is, and your relationship with God will never flourish. See, that's not what Christianity is. It's not about a God who can serve us, but it's about us seeing God, knowing God and serving Him, saying, God, you have done enough. You're still doing enough, God. And I know that you want good for me, and I know that you love me, and you care for me. Yet you've still done enough. Yet you still are enough. You have done enough. And even if I never see you move again, yet I will worship you. Yet I will love you, because you've restored us. You've defeated death, so that I can be with you forever. Where is God in coronavirus? Where is God in COVID-19? He's where He has always been. He is on the throne, and He is by your side. And He's using this time to do something good in you and in His church. If we trust Him, if we say, God, I will still worship you. I'll still love you, even when all of my questions aren't answered, even when things are bad. Yet, not my will, but your will be done. God, I pray that you would help us to trust you in life, in situations, God, right across our church and everyone watching right now. Those situations, God, where it doesn't seem to make sense, where it's not life as you planned it, as we planned it to be. God, help us to trust you. Help us to say, yet, God, not my will, but your will be done. I pray and I ask. Amen.
So what an amazing morning we've had this morning. I am so thankful that we get to spend time together just worshipping God and to just dive into His word. So we're going to take our offering now, and this can be given by standing order, or you can give through our Church Suite app or by our website. And if you are a visitor this morning, you are under no obligation to give. But if you are a regular attender of our church, I just want to encourage you to sow into God's house. Just sow into what is building here and give to our charities such as Feed the Hungry that we support, and it would just be fantastic for you to do that. If you want to keep in contact with us, if you want to contact us about prayer, about help, about anything, or for more information, then just email us at hello@nowchurch.org.uk or contact us through Facebook by messaging. I'm just going to pray now, and I'm going to pray that we have peace and that we know that God is in control. We know that whatever we go through this week, we can just trust in Him. And I just pray this morning, God, I just thank you for this morning. I thank you that we can just spend time together as a family. I pray that we know that you are in control, and that any time that we are worried this week, I pray that we can turn that worry into prayer, and that we just know that you are with us, that you are with us at every point of the day, and you just hear our prayers. I pray for the key workers that are going out while we are at home and just keeping this country running and keeping us safe. And I just pray that you protect them and that you just love them, and know that we are so thankful and grateful for them. And I just pray that we have a fantastic week this week. Amen. So I hope you have a fab week, and I will see you next week. Bye.
All the glory of creation, everything is from your hand, reaching down out of the heavens colliding with the sand. The earth cries out in accusation. Calvary's grace won't be denied. For the joy of our salvation, you made dust your grand design. Oh, praise the Lord Most High. Word of God, the breath of life, maker of this heart and mind. You make us your grand design. Beauty for ashes, life for a grave. Jesus forever, the greatest exchange. Beauty for ashes, life for a grave. Jesus forever, the greatest exchange. Once a broken earthly vessel, bound by shackles of this earth. From the dust I was created, and to the dust I will return.